All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. And we are Galactic Ashley and Sharon, Sananda Kumara. We are here tonight for Galactic Updates. There's lots to share. Hey, Ashley.
Hi, it's good to be here again. I can't believe a whole month has gone by somehow.
I know, right?
We're like 8 days into February, and I'm like,
Already.
yeah.
And before we know it, we'll be in March and spring will be here. But tonight is the full moon. I'm sorry, not the full moon, the new moon, the dark moon. Energies, new energies, new energies. And so it's a cool way to, cool time to be having our update tonight, right?
Yeah, it's also right before the Lunar New Year, and this is the
Mm,
year of the Emerald Wood Dragon.
nice,
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
So I don't mind talking about dragons as well tonight. I mean, they are
Yeah,
part of our galactic family, right?
sure. Yes. So what do you have going on? Because I just got an email from you, I think, the other day. Don't you have an out of body experience class and some other things coming up that you want to
Oh,
share?
yes, I do have a free demonstration, free not demonstration, but presentation.
You're like, come and I will fall asleep and you can see how I astral project.
on Zoom at that. Okay. But it's a presentation. One day, hey, maybe one day, right? It's a presentation, free presentation discussion on Zoom on the 23rd. And yeah, I'm excited about that. And I just finished a out of body experience course. I do teach one about every 6 months. So I just finished one. So one will come up. And I also have Akashic Records exploration and healing karmic programming, any karmic programs we brought forward. And that's a class, not a course. This one is not a course, but a class, a 3 hour class on the 18th. So yeah, check it out. Good stuff. Oh, and I also have a pranic healer, Shraddha, and this is on a donation basis on February 21st, where all are welcome to join us in a group healing. And she also does personal healing during the meeting, the healing circle. And she's from India and she's amazing. So that's on the 21st. Go to my website. You'll find out all about it. SharonSananda.com. Thanks,
That's
Ashley.
awesome. Yeah. I was like, I just got an email from you, and I feel like there's like 10 things happening.
How about
um,
you? Go ahead.
I have my light language course is starting in 20 days. So the end of the month, and there's a lot of really great energies that have joined. So if you are interested in expanding the light language that you already have activated and want to work on verbal light language through your body, hand signs, and or drawing light language, or if you would like to have it activated for the first time, I have a 9-week course coming up. And yeah, it's exciting. It's my 5th year facilitating it, and so I'm excited. There's also 2 really amazing guest speakers that are going to be joining us, and I'm excited about their talks. And then yeah, so I'm excited about that. I also have a few free events that are coming up, but if you can follow me on Instagram at galacticashley.activates, or go ahead and you can sign up for my email list at galacticashley.com. But I'll just stick with, rather than confusing things, but I do have a bunch of free events coming up that are very highly dragon related. And then I'm doing actually a 3-day dragon workshop with 2 other women that I'll be announcing soon. But before all of that, the light language course is happening. And if you find yourself going, oh, I'll do it next time, I say do it now. Next time feels so far away. I get that a lot. And I feel like if you're being called to it, reach out. I have free discovery sessions and we can chat about it. Or if you know that it's resonating with you and it's something that you wanted to work with, go ahead and join us. We're going to actually have a particular uh, focus, not over the whole thing, but one day where we're going to focus a lot on connecting with your dragon song, since we are in the year of the dragon. So being able to access the light language of your dragon essence. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yay. Boy, that sounds exciting. And speaking of exciting, there's a lot that I want to share with that experiences I've had since we met last. And
Let's hear it.
let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Okay. So, if you know me, and those who don't know me, I am a traveler, a conscious traveler, which I do on a regular basis. So, I am contactee. We are contactees.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do remember, I've gotten to the point where I remember being on ships and starships and things like that. And I'm being shown extraterrestrials. I've asked my peeps to allow me to be able to see beings that are different than us without freaking out, without fainting, without clicking out, as Robert Monroe calls it, because it's just so crazy for me. Because I've had beings in my room and been taken from my room and things like that. So it's taken me a while to get through the terror and the trauma of all of that. And which is a message for a lot of people here too, is that that's something that they want to work with us on, star seeds and all of us out here on the planet, really, basically, who are looking to have conscious contact with benevolent, whether the ones that are contacting us now are benevolent, is what I understand. Okay. Um, so I was just last week, earlier this week, 5 days ago, something like that. I was in a reality shift. I hesitate to call them out of body experiences anymore because that kind of makes you feel like it's, it has a different kind of connotation than what's really happening. I'm just shifting. I've gotten past moving out of the feeling of moving out of my body and then going somewhere. I just shift into another reality. And in this reality, I was on a starship and I was with these group of we were young beings, we were young, and there was feline cat beings with us. And we were laughing and having a really good time. This shit, we were in the break room or something. I don't know. But I could see where I was starting to portal back. I could see the portal as I'm coming back into my awareness here at Sharon on Earth. And I told myself, hold, stop, hold. And I was able to hold the experience. And while I was holding the experience, I had the awareness that I was back. As I'm moving back, I see this cat being in front of me, feline being, looks like a cat, house cat, but is wearing a uniform. And he has, I felt it was a male, and he has black fur around his eyes, almost look like a raccoon mask kind of look on him. And he's got gray hair, and his hair is spiked up. It's long. He's long hair, a long haired cat. And he's wearing a uniform with a black collar and blue. And he's sitting there looking at me. And I drew him. It's very crude, but I also found something on Pinterest that kind of looks like him, except he didn't have a human face. I'm going to show that real quick right here. Okay, what his hair and everything looks like. Where do I share? Share. Okay. Oh, there he is. Okay. So can you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so he had hair like that. Except the black was around his eyes, and all of this on top of his head was gray, like
Huh.
the color of it, white gray, and the rest of his face was gray. He didn't have a human face, didn't have a human mouth or human chin. He was a cat. He was a cat. He had a cat face, but he was wearing a uniform that I've seen before, or actually, what showed up in my feed the same day. Where am I? Right here. I have to stop screen. See my screen? So the same type of uniform that I saw him wearing showed up in my feed afterwards of some Nordic beings that Michael Sala, who I follow, had brought an insider on his channel, was talking about how he went on a mission. He's in the army and was taken on a ship with these Nordic beings who were wearing the same exact uniform, the blue with the black high collar, which was just another confirmation for me. But that's the first time I had seen feline beings that clear. And I saw another feline being that I was playing around with, that we were laughing and joking, a female, and she had gold, she was gold colored fur, and she had a cat face. They look like house cats, but were human looking with their bodies. So I asked afterwards in my meditations, okay, why was I shown these? And what I got was, because you've been asking to be shown beings that are, extraterrestrials, and or what we would call off-worlders or whatever, non-humans. And so I'm being shown that more and more so that I can get used to it, because what I got is we are moving into that space. I've talked about this many times, where where we're going to be seeing these beings more and more in our conscious awareness here. And so we're being I was being prepared. I'm being prepared. We're being prepared for this type of disclosure, for them to be present within our realm, conscious realm.
That's awesome. As you're talking, I'm wondering about, so I have, not past tense. I still have this friend. And she sent me a voice note the other night about this really weird, kind of disgusting, not really gross. It was just like, it involved this like pimples that thing, and like baby octopuses like coming out of her like
Oh my gosh.
third eye, right? And so you're telling this story, telling me, or telling all of us that you've been wanting to see things, and I'm wondering, and it's making me wonder about the purification process that is necessary for us to go through in order to be able to see with clarity, because so much of us have fear. I mean, this is really common in the courses. People
Mhm.
and in sessions, people will tell me or the beings and myself, like, I really want to see, and we're like, no, you actually don't. A lot of people they're quite terrified to see things, and so much of that is because in the programming, of everything that we see, there's so much violence. I mean, we have a genocide going on in the planet, like in the world, with Palestinians, and there's wars going on. And I was watching something. I mean, I wasn't watching it at all, because I can pretty much tell from like the cover of the show if I should be watching it or not. And I think I've shared this before, I'm very much like PG, maybe not even PG-13, but just like straight up PG, because I just can't. It's just too much. And then I can really feel those frequencies. They get stuck. Like if any of you ever listen to music and the music isn't quite high vibrational, how sometimes that a chorus will get stuck in your head, I would pay attention. Sometimes the choruses are really like joy to the world, like all the boys and girls or whatever, joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea, like joy to you. So if you get like that stuck in your head, that's one thing. But there are some other like creepier pop songs that if you really tune into them, like they're like I want to call them like earbugs or ear viruses almost. Like they really get in there and it doesn't feel very good. And I think the same thing happens with our third eye. Plus, if anybody has ever experienced anything traumatic where they saw like things happening to them or their body hasn't totally blocked out or dissociated those things, I think that these all play a role in opening our third eye or our ability to see. And it takes, a fair amount of work to look at. It's not just like don't brush your teeth with fluoride or eat a lot of cilantro. Like we can do a lot of these things to help to clear and to decalcify like our pineal gland and to do a lot of this kind of work. But I feel like the choices that we make every day in our ability to really pay attention to what we want to focus our eyes on, because what we're doing with these eyes is directly affecting this, and what we've experienced with these eyes is directly is affecting this, and our fear is directly affecting this, which makes sense that you're aware that there's a part of you that maybe doesn't want to see. And it's not always because it's like bad or scary, but it's pretty high. I mean, these are high vibrational frequencies, and oftentimes they'll block themselves from us seeing them. I tend to focus on like, sure, sight is fine, but even if I can see things, because I've also been trained by the beings to look beyond what I see anyways, because there's more there. And that's not this has nothing to do with Sharon's story about these amazing beings that like showed themselves to her, but that's more about frequencies that look scary, but they're actually highly benevolent. And so paying attention to the frequency that you're feeling, I think, is really beneficial. So anyways, it just made me think of all of those things, and how even like media and doom scrolling and watching scary things. And I'm not saying, because I know there's a lot of people out there that like you're really passionate about horror films, and that is fine. Like to each their own. Do your due diligence and do what you align with. But I know that for me, I just can't handle. I mean, I'm literally watching a show right now. It's all about like the country and horses. They literally bleep out the word damn. So, I mean, because it's really like, it's very PG. So that's kind of like when I am watching TV, that's what I watch.
Yeah, I'm finding that going back to music, I'm finding that I'm um, not listening to the music I used to listen to as much
Mhm,
because I've always been a rocker and I
mhm,
love rock and roll. But sometimes when the songs come on that I really enjoyed before, they kind of get me all tense, and so I have to change to a softer type of
mhm,
music. And so yeah, I understand what you're saying, definitely, and I totally agree that it's a process in the third eye. I
mhm,
had to clear that, and I've shared here before that there was a point when Yeshua and my guides were working with me very intensely during my quickening, and I was I was remote viewing, I believe, because I was clearing all these experiences, these traumatic experiences from my past, not just this lifetime. And I ended up in this cave kind of thing, and I'm seeing this, and it was pretty much some type of out of body experience in meditation, and I see really ugly stuff in this cave,
mhm,
and the being that's there turned to look at me, and as soon as he did, I saw a door just shut down on my third eye. I mean, it just came down like that.
mhm,
I don't know who did it, whether I did it, that being did it, my guidance did it. I don't know, but because I was super clear. My third eye was wide open at that time,
mhm,
and it
mhm,
just shut down. And so I got information later that my guidance helped me, wanted me to rely a lot more on my other clairs rather than just one, because I was relying on just the one, my
mhm,
clairvoyance. So, but I've worked with it. They've helped me work with it to bring it in more naturally where I'm, yeah, I mean, it still wasn't as clear as it was then, but it was like crystal clear. I could see my third eye in the mirror. I was looking at my forehead and could see my third eye in the mirror. Yeah, things like that. And so yeah, it was something that I didn't understand, but happened for a reason. And so it's, it's a process, seeing, being able to see these higher vibrational beings, like you said,
Yeah.
and something that's so different to us, so different. I mean, and I understand what you're saying about people say, I want to see, I want them to land in my backyard and take me up. Be
I was
careful
like,
what
I
you
don't want
ask
anybody
for.
landing in my backyard.
Be careful what you ask for. And I was like that. I was out when I was going through my thing. I was out in the backyard screaming at the top of my lungs, "Come and take me!" But I was, in a different place then. But yeah, it's a process. They don't want to freak us out. They don't want to. They don't want us to. They want it to be a process. Is what I understand, and that's because they want it to last. It's a lasting thing. It's not just a one time wham bam, here I am, and then it freaks us out to where it takes too long to be able to see them again. It's a process.
I also really think because we're working with our central channel, right? Like, so if we have a channeling system, we have this energetic body and this physical structure, and all of this is in many ways mediated by our central nervous system. So if we go into shock, there's a high possibility that we're not going to remember it to begin with,
Mhm,
that we
mhm.
get so afraid, and then our system is highly activated. It can't handle just the pure energetic frequency of it, and then there's like the experience of it, and then our brain has to kind of like make something out of it, right? Because
Right.
the human still has to sort of make something out of it. So I just think it's important, and I know I'm always like saying these things. I'm like the not fun guest.
No.
It's I know, I'm just kidding. But like it's really important to like I know that this doesn't like sound fun, but if you want to be able to like have a more intimate relationship with your guides and your beings, it means that you really have to befriend your central nervous system. So that means like paying attention to when you become dysregulated and why you become dysregulated and how and knowing that dysregulation is normal and that it's not wrong, and nothing is wrong, right? But when we can identify the dysregulation and let that sort of process through us and allow it to exist, then we can actually start building confidence with our body and that we know how to regulate ourselves. Because there is a difference between being startled and being afraid. Oh gosh. I get see, it does. I don't know. I thought it only did it on
Did it do
Zoom.
that automatically?
Yeah, I think it does and I think if you do a heart, it does this. It's like a
Oh
thing.
my
I don't
gosh.
know what happens
Oh
all this
wow.
makes balloons for some reason.
Oh,
I don't
oh, I've seen that happen.
I know,
I've
I
seen
need
it
to
before
figure
do
out
it
how
for
to
me.
turn it off though, because I talk with my hands so much that like
Oh, it's your system. Okay.
yeah, and
So
I thought
before
it
you
was just a Zoom thing, but I think it might be part of an Apple FaceTime, like whatever camera it's using. Okay.
oh, because I've seen that happen with other people. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Videos.
So
So could you please define dysregulation for us, please?
yeah, when so there's a really big difference between fear and being startled, right? So our nervous system getting dysregulated can look like this is how we can identify that there might be some dysregulation slash some dissociation or maybe slight dissociation. We might be getting more dissociated. So it can look like my heart rate is racing. I don't get startled, but I actually get afraid and I get sort of stuck in hyper arousal where I am in a fight, flight, or freeze mode. So this might be if you're having a conversation with somebody and they're not really able to pay attention, maybe they start yawning or just start totally shutting down and they can't hear anything that you're saying. But like being able to notice these within yourself. Are you in a conversation where your body is like telling you something or you can't handle what's being said, right? If you're watching a show and you're too activated by the show, like you can't calm down, you're like in a hyper sort of, and you're in a aroused state. And so these are the things that we can pay attention to. So we're not trying to control the system. We're trying to understand the system. And that in any time that we can understand our central nervous system, it means that our channeling can be better. It means that our life can be better. It means that we can trust our bodies. Like if you keep working maybe with trauma patterns or other patterns that are in your system that are keeping you from, I don't know, living your fulfilled life or whatever it is that you want to do, we are constantly, our central nervous system is constantly communicating with us. It's always telling us things. So what I like, the example that I like to use is that I could be just like focused or thinking about something else, and either Mahana or Mayu could start barking. And then all of a sudden I'm like, because it startles me, but it's going to feel like fear at first because I don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden I'm like, Mahana, why do you have to do that? When it's like pin drop silence, right? And then I'm just startled, and then all of a sudden my central nervous system and my body is like, oh, we're fine, we're safe, we don't need to fight, flight, or freeze, and there's nothing to fawn, right? So then my system automatically just re-regulates itself. The heart rate drops, there's no sweating, there's no anything, and then I just calm down. But oftentimes what can happen is it can take some people a while to get back into a regulated place. So when we kind of do this work to pay attention to our bodies and our nervous system and sort of our own wiring, this all helps support our relationship with these frequencies. And so if any of you that are listening work with plant medicine absolutely throws you directly into your central nervous system, and you are directly interacting with the multidimensionality of your central nervous system and going through fear states, calm states, being able to access breath as a very grounding frequency to work with. But you don't have to work with plant medicine in order to do that, but just being aware of sort of your day to day is very beneficial in the way in which you work with beings. Because if you're somebody that like gets hyper aroused or like scares easy, and sometimes this can be from lack of sleep, like if you know that you're on edge, that becomes a challenging offering to be in a place of reception, right? So I just feel like there's a lot of layers for us to get to work with. So I'm motivated and always want to be in connection and communication with the divine or with the beings. And so I'll pretty much do anything here in order to strengthen that. So it's kind of like whatever kind of carrot you need, like that's my carrot, sort of the carrot on the stick. Okay, I'm going to do this really hard stuff because I want to like retain the connection with God, basically.
Yeah. I love that because they do use our nervous system, even in healing work.
Right.
Yeah, we're using our nervous system. Yeah, totally. So, good advice there. Actually, thank you. Yeah, and that's what would happen to me whenever I would see these beings. I would faint because it's so terrifying for me. Okay. Didn't remember it. I didn't remember it. Yeah. I remember I had an experience a couple years ago where I was just starting to fall asleep and I felt them in the room. I knew they were here. And I was laying on my side facing my boyfriend, and I had my cat laying on my chest laying in between us. And I said in my mind, okay, I'm ready to see you. I'm all right with seeing you, because I knew they were here. I saw a couple lights first, and I knew they were here in my room. And I said, okay, I'm ready to see you. And as soon as I said that, I became in this state of bilocation, where I felt that something moving me from my bed, but I also knew I was still in bed. So they were taking my astral body, my second body, whatever, and moving it to another frequency, or wherever they were taking me to. And I saw and I could hear myself talking to them. And I told them that I was sad, that I just felt so sad for whatever was going on at that time. And then I saw in in that state, which translated into this state, a large wheel of colored lights in front of me. And they were using this large wheel of colored lights on me and moving my body around. I could feel hands on my body as they were moving me around and healing me in some way, using lights to heal me. But I didn't see them. Apparently I thought I was ready, but my mind, my subconscious or my conscious, wouldn't allow me to see them at that time. I could still feel my cat on my chest.
Hmm.
It was, that bilocation thing going on, to where I could see certain things, but I didn't see them. But I felt them, and that's happened to me many, 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 many times. Where I feel them, I feel hands on me, and I see certain things, but not the beings, yet. Except for I'm starting to see them more and more now. Yeah, I'm seeing lots and lots of beings now, and and that's cool. But in different scenarios.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
to clarify, when you say seeing, you mean inner eye seeing?
Uh, it probably is inner eye, but it's as if I'm looking at you.
Okay.
My eyes are closed, but it's clearer than when my eyes are open. Yeah,
Okay.
very very clear, super clear. The colors are bright. There's light like crazy. Yeah,
Okay.
super bright.
So
And
how for you do you differentiate, because I do think that this is important for people to hear or listen, or depending on where you're at in your journey. There's like this inner outer eye kind of thing happening, but your quote unquote realities aren't confused. So it's a safe sort of place to be in. But for a lot of people, when they're wanting to see something, it's sort of inner eye stuff. Or do you know what I mean? Do you want to talk about that?
uh, okay, I'm not sure.
Well,
Rephrase
I
that
guess
again,
it's,
or
I
rephrase that
guess
for
it's
me.
like, because there's inner eye, and then there's this sort of like inner outer eye thing that you have going on. Because I think sometimes people say, "Oh, I saw this ghost or some deceased person walking down the street," and it's like they might feel it, sense it, and then maybe like inner eye see this whole like vision of what it is. And but they say, I just saw somebody walking down the street. And so I think one isn't better than the other. I guess I'm just trying to get across that there's that movie, The Sixth Sense,
Yeah,
right? Like everybody just is like, walk the dead people are walking around with the live people or whatever, live and
yeah,
dead. And some of it is, I think for some people, depending on, and I think this is done for like a reason, so that you don't maybe go crazy literally right in the beginning, because it would be really hard to decipher that person is their grandmother and they're dead and this person is living, and what reality are we in? So I'm just throwing out there that inner eye and this inner outer eye stuff, it's maybe coming together, but inner eye
right.
vision is just as important.
If
It is
not
all,
more, if not
yeah,
more,
yeah.
yeah,
So that is
yeah,
also valuable. And or, all of the, what did you say earlier? The remote viewing. Like there's a
mhm,
lot of ways to sort of work with the third eye. And so you
yeah.
don't have to see everything that looks the same in reality and then be confused about what dimension something is in, I guess.
Well, I like what you said a second ago. Is it's I like that. It's a merging of our physical out eyes, what we're projecting, and translating, right, with our inner eyes, because everything's happening within us anyway. We're
Hmm.
projecting it, projecting our reality. And so I've seen the Matrix in a
Hmm.
grocery store. I'll say that again, in a grocery store. So, and I was sober, no drugs, no alcohol, nothing, just lots and lots of meditation. Um, and so I saw it, and I saw that with my physical eyes. I've seen things with my physical eyes, definitely. Uh, um, I've seen the walls disappear, and I could see the silver walls of a ship, that type of thing. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, so I believe it's a merging of the two. And so what we're doing is bringing the inner world to closer to the outer world, or bringing the inner world into the outer world, and merging the two. And we're using our inner vision, like you said, to uh, coalesce with our outer vision, because it's all within us anyway. We're
Mhm.
traveling within us anyway. That's why I
Right.
tell people in my out of body courses is we're going within, because of the scare tactics of, of the old, about astral projection, astral travel, out of body experiences, lucid dreaming, stuff like that, diving into our multidimensional self. That it's no, don't do that. It's, there's demons and stuff. We're going within. Whatever we come across, we're going within ourselves. We're not really going out of body. We're going in body, and we're just disengaging from our physical senses, and our mind is awake. So, yeah, it's pretty fascinating and amazing times as we merge. I keep hitting my microphone, as we merge the two worlds. I'm just so excited. Okay.
Well, it is exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. The
Yeah,
demons are
totally.
everywhere anyway, by the way, everyone, just so you know. They're not you're
Yeah.
not only gonna find them if you're like, "I'm never gonna astral project or do OBEs because there's demons there."
There,
Well,
yeah.
they'll be somewhere else too.
There,
I hate to tell you.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so all we have to do, and I learned this, and I know we're not talking about that, but all you have to do is face your fears. When you go within, it's like Ashley was saying, it's about diving in and healing what our fears are, what causes the I'm a freezer. Okay. I learned that as Yeshua was working with me, that I freeze in trauma, in terror, in fear. I freeze.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So, and people don't talk about freezing enough. It's always fight or flight, fight or flight. I'm more of a freezer.
That's really good that you know that about yourself because
Yeah.
sometimes with freezers, even if you're somebody that like, and you're really like a doer and you do a lot of things and get things done and all that stuff, I think that when we're a freezer, what I've been shown in and when I'm looking at people's trauma patterns in their body is that a lot of times that person actually needs a lot more time and space to be able to what the beings call like a slow thaw. Like it actually has
Hmm.
to melt slowly. So you can't just like it takes some time. Do you
Hmm.
have sleep paralysis? Somebody asked.
Michelle, yes. And that's how I started projecting consciously, because I had sleep paralysis, but I didn't know what it was. And sleep paralysis actually is uh, it's a jump off point for leaving your body, for astral project, for out of body experiences, because that's the state where we are disconnecting. If we're leaving, our consciousness is leaving our physical senses, or
Coming back.
reconnecting, yeah, coming back in. But we don't understand it, and our conscious mind, like you were saying, actually has to make something up, has to figure it out somehow. And what it will tell us is that it's there's
Getting murdered.
demons in our room. We're being
Yeah,
murdered.
we're
Something's
getting
laying on
killed
our
or
chest.
something. I mean, that was always my experience, right? Is
Yeah.
like and then I'd have to like remind myself that like it's fine, but it doesn't never feels fine. Like you can't move and you feel like and you can't even scream or like make a sound, but you're trying to like
Mhm.
either
Mhm.
wake up if there's somebody sleeping next to you or not, just trying to like like move and then you can't and then eventually it works itself out and then you're in that state where you're either gonna fight, flight, freeze or something. It kind of makes it hard to go back to sleep again, maybe unless you sort of work with a lot of these energies and stuff. And then you start, then you start looking up some of this stuff and it's like, there are night terrors, right? That's also a thing, which is different than sleep
That's
paralysis.
different than sleep paralysis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then there's like the succubus stuff, and there's demons sitting on your chest, and like all these
Oh, it's
things
such
that are,
bullshit.
yeah,
Sorry.
and no. I mean, those things are real, but that's not like that's not this, right? Like sleep paralysis isn't always that. And half the time, I think what you're afraid of is it's actually like you coming back into you. So the other being that's sitting next to you in the bed is actually you trying to get
You.
like fully back
It's
into the
you.
body.
I know. I learned that, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And you feel, and I thought someone was floating up on the ceiling, or a being was floating up on the ceiling. I'm trying to scream and get out, and then I realized that was my second body. That was my astral body moving back, or moving out, which it was usually when I was coming back is when it would happen. But you're right. As you do work on spiritual work, those things are going to start happening, and it's really imperative that we know and understand it, because Albert Taylor wrote a whole book on it. When he was a kid and as he got older, he was dealing with sleep paralysis on a regular basis, and his parents took him to therapists and doctors, and they did all kinds of tests on him, and all that t- nobody knew. They didn't know anything about it, and
Yeah.
until he finally figured it out. It was the jumping off point for astral travel, for out of body experiences. So yeah, he wrote a really cool little book on his journey with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you have sleep paralysis? If you ask about it, you might, then you probably do.
I had it my whole life, and then once I was able to sort of more understand what it was and what was happening, then it didn't really happen that much anymore.
Once you understand it, you're right, it doesn't. But especially if you're raising your frequency, because then you're more in tune. You're more in tune with your astral body, leaving your physical senses. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine always was on the way back. It was always on like the way back, like the thing and the whole like I'm getting murdered, like but I'm like it's pretty terrifying. Even and then even when you kind of like know what it is, but it was just nice when I could like identify what it was and then not really worry about it anymore, kind of. But when you're
Yeah.
a kid and you're growing up and you're like, why am I getting murdered in my sleep all the
Like, am I
time?
getting murdered? Yeah, really. So
Yeah,
Michelle, she says, if you
yeah,
experience it, yeah, I would kindly suggest that shadow you were seeing may have been your astral body,
yeah.
and it is
Well,
frozen. We do freeze in fear.
yeah, particularly if you like if it feels like a sleep paralysis thing, right? And also there could also be a being standing in the corner of your room too. I mean, both are possible. And I don't know, I'm not tuning in, but um yeah. Sometimes I actually speaking of beings in rooms, that's
Right.
like a thing I don't like being standing in my room. Okay, so that's super interesting. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
could be a being, right? It could be one of your beings, but if it's a scary being, like I usually just do
Yeah.
a I don't like beings in my room when I'm sleeping. I have some rules about that, but I also call beings in, right? So they have to be like known frequencies, I guess is what I'm saying. But there was some beings that were there the other night. There's a lot of flux happens around my house sometimes, and there's been a lot of beings that have been like staring in the window, but not in like a scary way. And I sort of just like check in and double check like what's going on. But there were some beings that were like in the room, kind of like standing sort of close to the bed, but they felt like they kind of had like a warrior sort of esque frequency, and but they felt more like a projection, not my projection, but like a holographic image, if that makes sense. So I feel like visitate quote unquote visitations lately have been more of like a holographic thing because I didn't feel my body. And so I'm one of those people that like I care what I see, but and I like seeing things, but I also, that's not the end. I wants to see things and I do see things, but my emphasis is on what I'm feeling and knowing over everything, right? So you can, because to me, like something can be like, oh, I'm Archangel Michael. And I'm like, yeah, you don't feel like Archangel Michael. So tell me another lie, right? Like go for it. Tell me something else. But anyways, these beings that I saw, like, and the whole point is I was like, what are you all doing here? Like, why are you in my room? Like, we have rules and I'm going to bed. And I didn't really get like a whole bunch of communication, but they just, I think this is part of, I don't know, visitation and kind of what's going on. And sometimes beings will be sort of attracted, a particular frequency of beings will be attracted to the house. And I guess I'll just call it, it's a regular like house with a normal sized backyard, but it's still land, but it's not like the land. It's a regular like lot sized house. And so I usually pay attention to those energies because I feel more than anything, it's the earth is communicating. And different like various pretty high vibrational earth frequencies will show up too. But I don't know. I'm wondering about how you feel, or not how you feel about that, but um,
Uh,
okay. So there's a question about beings and ghosts. So I use the word beings just as a loose word that we can just say aspects of the divine. So they're high vibrational energies that are communicating. So sometimes I'll say beings, and it's like maybe they're connected to what I call my soul's guidance system. Or maybe not. So it's like the word tissue paper. Tissue paper is, I'm just using like the word Kleenex to like say all the different kind of variations of tissue paper, whether it's made out of like bamboo or a tree or something else. But in that, they're always benevolent. So if something feels non-beneficial to me or literally is in the demon realm, I will use those terms. So that's what I mean when I say beings. And ghosts, I don't know, Sharon, do you want to respond to that? I feel like ghosts are disincarnate, we can say beings, entities that have had a human body in this plane. That's how I define a ghost.
or an animal body, or
Oh, yeah, an animal.
yeah, yeah. I agree. A being can be any type of being. A ghost, I consider a entity or a person or some life form that had a physical body at one point and is still roaming or
Yeah,
stuck on the earth plane. It
yeah,
has not moved across into the higher planes. That's
yeah,
what I consider a ghost, and I can still call him a being, but being to me is a higher being that is
yeah.
in the higher planes.
That has like ascended. So it could be ancestors. It could be like literally these, what I would call
Star
anything
beings,
between the dragon consciousness or God, source, energy to anything like to
yeah,
a point. I might loosely, I don't even know. I would still separate beings from ETs, like, because there's nothing wrong with ETs, but there's still like, I don't know. So when I say beings, it's usually in my realm, so I don't have to go like, well, the Arturians told me this 4.5 years ago, and the Andromedans told me this. I just go the beings, like,
yeah, like human being, star being,
yeah,
uh, you know, whatever. Yeah,
yeah. So, anyways, these energies slash beings were in my house, and it's just one of those things where, and I think this might be like how I kind of identify if it's a little bit more holographic than like a complete presence is, it's almost like my body doesn't feel that much, but I wasn't afraid. And also I was like, I need a little bit of space, and I'm not entirely sure what you all are doing here because like, I don't not know you. But I also like, you're not part of like the core soul's guidance system. So I'll just say like, hey, what's up? And I'm going to bed. So
yeah. I
dragons
go with
can
my
just
feelings a lot too,
blow the
mostly.
space out.
Uh, yeah, totally. Um, I don't have personally. I don't have negative beings visiting me anymore. Yeah, I've got. I've been there, done that. I'm done with that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
had way too much of that as a child, and and in my earlier adult years. So that's not happening anymore. Thank goodness. I've worked
Yeah.
enough, hard enough, long enough, and hard enough to make sure that and that that doorway is closed. That portal doorway is
Yeah.
closed.
I just think the earth is shifting a lot, so I just like to
Mhm.
double check the property sometimes to be like, is there an energy leak? Dragons, have you fallen asleep at the wheel? Have I fallen asleep at the wheel? And it's usually like not a big thing. And also it's like you've had all day. Like there's been all sorts of daylight time for a visitation. It doesn't need to happen before I go to bed because that's like my
Yeah,
time.
and I think that that we just don't notice them when we're not in bed, relaxed, and not focused on our outside world. I believe that they're all around us anyway. But if they were there to get your attention,
Well, I mean, I was like, not even, I was like getting ready for bed and like just,
oh, okay.
it's not hard to get my attention. And then I'm like, I'm about to get into my bed. Why do you also look like you're about to get into my bed? Which they weren't. But I mean, that's how close it was, just like on the other side. And I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah.
So I thought we'd bring up Natalie's questions again. We started on some of them last week. Do you remember?
Sure.
Last month, I mean.
And if anybody that's here has questions, you can always also ask
Yeah.
them too.
But I received a list of questions from Natalie. Natalie, if you're here, we're going to look at the rest of your questions. We did answer answer from our perspective last month. So you're welcome to tune in to our show last month where we go through part of her questions, which were really good questions. So MK says there are a lot of non-physical beings around. Oh yeah. I mean it's endless. Endless.
Yeah. And for
Mhm.
those of you that are wanting to open or work with your third eye, or however you like to define this, you can always ask to see specific frequencies. Like you get to the whole thing with this is that you get to actually like define, like with your own desires, like what you don't have to see everything all at once because that would be pretty overwhelming because just like Mike said, there's a lot of non-physical beings. It would be kind of overwhelming if you saw every fairy, gnome, tree spirit, plant spirit.
Uh,
Like it would just be like, I don't think you could see through anything. Like there's so much energy and spirit energy around us. I think it would just be like, I don't know, walking through a cornfield. I mean, that's like how much energy is there. So you could specifically request to see, maybe you just want to work with trying to see your galactic family or your angels or your something or the spirit of a plant, like if so that you can baby step yourself into it. It doesn't have to be a full-on blast. Sorry. Okay, I'm done. Go
yeah.
ahead. What is
Sure.
the question?
Oh, well, let me pull it up here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So have you encountered individuals who claim to have had direct contact with aliens? And if so, how do you approach and evaluate such claims? Did we already go through that one?
I have no idea,
I know,
but I
right?
don't think so.
Okay. Have you encountered individuals who claim to have direct contact with aliens? If so, how do you approach and evaluate such claims?
I just go, lies, lies. Just kidding.
No, you don't.
No, I don't say anything like that. That would be terrible.
Yeah. Well, I can answer that from my
Yeah, you go for it.
perspective. Um, well, I give because of my experiences, I cannot say to, if someone has the courage to come out and talk about their experiences, I'm not going to say you don't, whatever, roll my eyes or anything like that. I give everyone space. I actually do have support groups where we talk about our experiences, because not a lot of people can talk about this to their friends and their family, their inner circles and things like that. So, I mean, I use my BS meter, of course, but I find that people that do share with me, I know lots of people that have real time experiences and remember them, and are remembering their experiences as well. So, in answer to the first part, yes, I do. Answer to the second part, I use my intuition and do not ever judge anyone on whether they're telling the truth or not. If I feel they're not, that they're making something up, who am I to say, oh, you know what I mean? Oh, you're just making that up. I don't know. Based on my own history and experiences, I could never tell someone that's just way too crazy. I can't believe that, because I have had the most amazing, crazy experiences, as you've heard here, and as I know Ashley has heard. And I'm not saying that anybody else can't have them. If I can have them, anybody else can sure have them. So that's my answer.
Yeah. So I think that in it's mostly, I think, so the question was about people that have had experiences and sort of sussing out if they are real or not, or like if they really happened.
How do you approach and evaluate such claims?
Okay. So I guess it like really depends on what you're looking for. Like, it doesn't matter if what they claim is true or untrue. Like, how does that affect you and does it matter? Now, if somebody is on a platform and they've based their entire business and they're taking money that is based on a false foundation, that's problematic, right? But I'm sure that people will enter into that space so that they can learn about discernment. And so there you are. Generally, and I think maybe this is what Sharon is talking about, is oftentimes we're holding space for people. It's really not okay to be like, that did not happen. I don't say anything. I just go off of what I'm guided. But generally, anytime somebody's telling me any kind of story, just like when Sharon was telling her story, I'm like, you didn't see any cats, Sharon. You don't know what you're talking about. Right? Like, I usually a lot of times will close my eyes and just sort of listen to the vibration and the frequency. And what I end up doing is actually connecting to the beings that were in the contact sort of experience or in the experience. So that's generally what I connect to. Now, because that's how I'm wired and that's what I do, and this includes when people are channeling, when they're talking about their experiences. And sometimes that connection will be broken because whatever beings that were there are not benevolent. And my guides and my system is like, we're not connecting to that, like, at all. And I will say that that happened and this isn't to say that Corey Good is a liar, but he was talking about something that I was listening to, and I got the don't you dare connect to those energies. And I was like, okay, because it just wasn't in energetic alignment, right? And I am really connected to a lot of the avian frequencies and avian beings. And I think he was particularly talking about an avian experience, and I got a hard like separation, because frequently when I'm listening to people talk, I am directly connecting to those energies unless I'm told not to. So that doesn't say that it happened or it didn't happen. I feel like if it didn't happen, there wouldn't be any energy to connect to. And it would be hard, like it would just be hard to even see or feel or share the experience with the person. Because that's kind of how I see it, is when somebody shares something with me, I can go back into that time space that they had the experience, even their traumatic ones and whatever it is, not to tell them about it, but to try and experience it, and maybe experience it how they did and experience like how I am, and maybe like look around and see what might have been missed. And at the same time, there are people that have what I'm going to call contact experiences, particularly in childhood. And what's happening is a very, very big capital T trauma. And that person is totally dissociating, and that contact experience may not have happened, and sometimes both are happening at the same time. So that is not for me to be like, I'm sorry, but you experienced sexual abuse or some kind of really big trauma and you completely dissociated, and there happened to be like an alien movie on the television, and that's why you think that that happened. Because that's not for me to say. I feel like I am here to help support people be able to integrate these experiences into their being and to develop an understanding of it, not because I'm telling them this is what happened, but so that they're in a safe place so that they can come to understand that on their own, if that makes sense. Like with support and help of, let me just, like, here's the space, here's the container, like, let's see what's going on here and how did that make you feel and how do you feel now? So I think it's really complex. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? But if you're looking at somebody that is like making a business off of something and you want to know if what they're talking about is true or untrue, that makes sense. Then I would say go with your discernment, because if they're going to lack transparency in like a major area, what's to say that they're going to be like honorable in the rest of their business or how they live their life?
Yeah. Okay. Next question. In your opinion, what?
I just talk so much sometimes.
No, you don't. No, that was good stuff. Yeah. I did. I agree with you totally.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what would be the most significant implications for humanity if concrete evidence of extraterrestrial life were to be discovered? What would be the most significant implications for humanity if concrete evidence of extraterrestrial life were to be discovered? Ooh, good question.
I think all these questions are great. I want
Yeah,
this
they're all good.
person in my course to ask all these like awesome questions.
Yeah, Natalie is
Yeah.
amazing. What? I mean, it's just so much.
Yeah.
Wow, so much. Uh,
Here, I can take a piece
I
of
mean,
it if you want, and
go
then
ahead.
you can
Go
think
ahead.
about it
Yeah.
if you want.
Mhm.
I want to say it does. It almost doesn't. I want to say it matters, and it also doesn't matter, because I feel like there's been a lot of extraterrestrial like proof. Is it just me? I mean, I think that we found like weird alien head. There's been a lot of things that show that it's real, and a lot of people that have had these experiences. One of the things that I was like, because we had the show today, and I sort of was like, oh, like I don't have any galactic updates. Why you guys never giving me updates before the show? And I was like, okay, just tell me about disclosure. Everybody likes to know about disclosure, and they're sort of like rolling their eyes at me. And so let's just say this is a part of disclosure. And I really feel like what disclosure actually is it's really, it has nothing to do, I mean, it doesn't have nothing to do with veils dropping and our ability to believe something or not believe something. It really has to do with our willingness to, since tonight is so much about sight, to be able to see things like with clarity. Because when we're asking for this, I believe that we're really asking to be able to see the truth and to be able to see with clarity. So we don't necessarily get to see, or we're unwilling to see, because it takes a certain amount of willingness to be able to change your belief system, right? So to me, I identify belief systems as temporary. Like all systems are temporary placeholders to get us to a point so we can break through that glass ceiling and be able to expand our beliefs to be able to take in more of the universe or more of our worlds. And so to me, what disclosure is, it is as, if not more, internal than it is external. So it doesn't really matter if there's like literally, and I've seen this before, a Sasquatch walking across the field with my physical eyes. And I'm like, oh, if I'm pointing at that and I'm telling you there's a Sasquatch, you're not going to believe it if you're just not capable of believing it. So I'm really not sure that people are going to believe or not believe. I don't, that's my belief. That's a terrible sentence.
No, yeah, I understand. I agree.
Yeah.
I believe. So I believe
Yeah.
what I believe. Yeah, the first is a huge belief system crash is going to happen in lots of
Yeah.
people's worlds. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's going to be a big. That's a big deal if you're not open to it. And I believe most people are. I believe that most people are open to the fact that there are other life forms out
Hmm.
there beyond planet Earth. Um, um, now, there's a lot of people that are in systems, in programs that would crash their belief system if they were to be uh, mm, shown and come to the planet as benevolent beings, because I think a lot of people are programmed to believe that there are beings that are they're programmed to believe that, Hollywood and what the government is
Alien
trying to do
invasion.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Very bad.
negative alien invasion, and so that they're bad, and it's a bad thing. um which is what I believe, that a lot of what those of us that are here and talking about it, um, and having our own experiences will help with that, to put that to bring that consciousness, bring those beliefs and those knowings into the consciousness, the larger consciousness, that there are many, many more benevolent extraterrestrials than negative, I believe. Okay. um, I believe that also that we have been under the thumb of negative extraterrestrials for quite a few
Hmm.
decades, but that I do believe has been that we're at the end of that. Okay, we're at the end of that. So now it's our job to help people in the area of opening up their consciousness and awareness to the fact that there are other beings that want to help us be a productive member of the galactic community. And that's what I see is happening behind the scenes. It's just a matter of us knowing where to look, and where to and to use our discernment, have vision, that there is more to this universe than just the earth humans, for sure. And also with disclosure, hard disclosure, I believe it's a process. Hard disclosure
Hmm.
with her question, with Natalie's question, is that in order for that to happen, there's some organizations that have to come down, because they've been hiding this from us for a very long time. So that curtain has to be pulled, and that those systems have to be brought down. So it's a process. It's definitely a process, and we're doing it. And it's so exciting to be living here during these times where, who knows, within 20, 30 years from now, we are going to look up at the sky and see things, and maybe even be in our own flying vehicles and looking up at the sky, and it wouldn't be a big deal to see some kind of a starship or a spaceship flying across the sky. It's it's not a big deal. And that we are walking down the street with feline beings saying, hey, how you doing, Joe? Or how you doing? you know, and having them in our workplace and things like that. You know, yeah,
Sorry, I just thought about
just
what's
like Star Wars.
gonna happen with all the people that have cat allergies.
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. They wouldn't. It wouldn't have an effect. Maybe allergies would also get them.
Well, I think it's
But
starting. I think, and there's like the terrestrials, what we call off-worlders, or
yeah,
different than the human
I know.
the
I
Earth
know.
human species. They're walking among us now, you know,
Yeah.
and they even tell us that.
Yeah.
But we think they're crazy sometimes. They roll our eyes like you said your peeps did. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, and so I believe that that's the process. Is that as we get used to the human-looking ones, That's phase one. Phase two is maybe a little bit, different, like with maybe the big bald head or the concave head, because I've seen those beings that are a little bit more different than that, but still human looking. And then we move from that into different types of maybe hybrids or something. I mean, there's our hybrids anyway. The felines, the blue beans, I've seen lots of those too. Anyway, so I believe it's a process, and I just hope to be alive still, and I feel like I will be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and another thing with hard contact, and this is a process too. I understand what my peeps keep telling me is that we're going to be, with the arcs activating in the next maybe 10, 20 years, we're going to be given all the technology, a lot of technology that was been hidden from us for the last 100 years.
When you
So that comes with it.
say when you say arcs, what do you mean when you say arcs?
The giant domed floating cities,
Okay,
ships
okay,
that are buried around the galaxy and on the planet and on other
okay.
planets, where that we buried during the galactic wars for
Mhm.
these times.
Cool. I also think so. Just to be clear, it is really important to know your values and belief systems, and to sort of build your life kind of around them, but also to know that they are temporary placeholders for your own ascension and expansion. Because then Sharon and I can sit here and comfortably say we believe this, this, and this, and then know that it's okay in 5 years to build on that belief or to shift from it. Because
Mhm.
this is what we believe today in this moment, and we're also open to more information coming in to be like, it was like that, but not quite like that, and to sort of shift from that. So I think there's a really big power in sort of looking. I mean, there has been for me about, and also this was something I didn't realize that this was always the way. So it's like I have a belief that belief systems are temporary placeholders, right? And I've always seemed to have had that, and I was able to sort of wrap language around it, within the last 5 years or so, which has been really helpful because I just couldn't understand why people's whole lives would crumble when they would find out that maybe their Christian religion or something wasn't what they thought it was. Because to me, I'm like, oh, you find out that that's not what it was, then you just sort of move on right from that and like learn from it. But it becomes exponentially more difficult when it's so ingrained in you. And that divorce, like for example, if you're somebody that like a fundamental Christian or somebody, and I'm just sort of making up these terms, but I'm just thinking of like a very sort of somebody that grew up in a very religious household, got married very young, now maybe has a child and is married but knows that they need to get divorced. Like those are really hard beliefs to kind of move through. And I was trying to like understand, I don't get it. Why you just do what you need to do and sort of move on. And the beings were like, well, this is why, because this is like highly ingrained and it's really hard because, and this is like, it's really a death process, right? So when you have beliefs that are really ingrained in you, it's not wrong, but there's big parts of your identity that need to sort of die in order for you to expand into a greater belief system. And I think that, with with any kind of like the energies coming, ET, whatever the question was to begin with, if contact becomes sort of more real and proven, like what kind of proof do you need? And then being able to sort of pivot in your life to be in flow with that new information and how it will work. And when we think about it, I had to do a lot of work around the word alien, because I mean, think about that. Illegal aliens are bad people, bad humans that come. And I'm from California, and I lived in Tucson, Arizona for a while, and illegal alien, bad people coming across the border to take your jobs. So when we're using language like that with people that are different than us, and that is sort of in the mainstream linguistic language culture course, we're going to look up to the sky and be like, those are aliens and they're coming. And then that's going to bring fear into a lot of people. So, hopefully, there's going to be people that are on the spectrum. They're going to come and take our jobs and artificial intelligence is going to take our jobs, or they're going to come and save us. And none of those are most likely true. So
Right.
I don't know. We're just getting groomed all over the place also.
Yeah. Yeah, what MK said is very true. Think about what something like that would do to various religions, just what you talked about, definitely.
Yeah.
And
It'll be
and
really,
those programs can come from many lifetimes as well, not just this lifetime.
oh yeah, a lot of them, all of them,
Yeah,
every
all
single
of them.
one.
All of them, right?
And I mean, especially here, and we're here to like work through those densities. And Sharon does tons of work with past lives and soul retrieval and all kinds of stuff like that. And they have a direct effect. They get a lot of people on like the light language course that they can't get the light language out of their mouth because, they've had their throats slit or they've been hung or they've been murdered for using their voice. And so there's a lot of work to sort of work through to be able to say these, to speak our truth.
I want to go back to what you said about belief systems can change.
Yeah.
The arcs to the arcs. 20 years ago, I was shown and had believed it for quite a while that there were going to, on a timeline in my lifetime, there was going to be a time, perhaps, because I saw a lot of future stuff that was going on now back then, where big ships were going to be landing in and taking people off the planet, evacuations of people. And I even told my sister, if a big ship lands here somewhere near your house, get on it. That's how heavy it was, and I was getting it. Well, I realized, and it's funny because other people have told me that, and some people know I follow Elena Denine. I just saw an interview with her where she said that was part of the timeline that we were on until just not that long ago, less than 5 years ago, where these arcs are now going to be used for as floating cities type of thing because they are biodomes and they're community. We can use them as communities. We will be using them as communities. So my belief, that was a belief I had because I was shown it, that we're going to come to some kind of catastrophic events where we might have to be humans might have to be evacuated off the planet. And that changed for me. I don't believe that anymore. Thank God. Not just because of what Elena said, but that's the messages I've been getting from my peeps. That timeline has been fixed.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you were wrong before. And I think that's a good thing, right? I mean, I
No, it
agree with you.
doesn't.
I would
Yeah,
like to not have to evacuate the planet, I think.
yeah. I
Ideally, we
know,
stay on the Earth ship.
but there's a lot in people who've been in this realm like us for a while. Uh, know that there's been a lot of information the last decade or two about the new Earth,
Hmm.
where we're going to be moving into a new Earth,
Hmm.
and which is a different planet, and the old Earth will still be here, but it won't be able to hold the higher frequencies. So I'm getting different information on that too.
Mm.
All right, question. There's two more questions here. Have you
So,
ever?
wait,
Oh,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
I just think it's interesting that like the word arc is used and okay, so obviously 99.9% of everything in the Bible is very distorted. But I think that, Noah's Ark, right? That the literal story of it isn't true. But I think I like the idea, like there's something there in the ark and like a destruction and how we're talking about these arcs that are coming. You know what I mean? I think that that's just
Right.
interesting. That's
Yeah,
all.
it's my understanding that the Noah's Ark story is a story of Enlil creating the floods to wipe out as much as humanity as it could because they were too noisy for him. And so Noah, who was actually a different name, which I can't even hardly pronounce, was chosen by Anki, to it was a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they took DNA samples of Earth beings, so they didn't
Mm-hmm.
lose the populations of the animals and people too. Yeah, and of course they took people too, but yeah,
Right.
very.
Interesting.
I mean, it's similar story, but just a different twist on it, which makes is more modern, makes more sense to
Yeah.
me.
I just think
Yeah,
it's interesting. That was all.
yeah. Okay, so where are we at? 7:23. We got a little bit more time. Have you ever participated in or organized events related to UFO sightings or alien encounters? And if so, what was the experience like?
Well, is this an event? Like, I guess I don't understand. Like, I don't
This
know.
is an event. I mean, I have support groups. I facilitate support groups for experiencers. I think maybe she might be talking about CE5 events, that type of thing,
Okay.
where you call in beings. And
Yeah.
yes, I have been involved in quite a few of those. We've been to ESETI.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, out in Trout Lake, Washington. Is that where you saw the Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I should say not Sasquatch, but the Bigfoot. Yeah.
Sasquatch. Oh, I call him Sasquatch. Is that not
Oh,
politically
I'm
or
sorry. Yes, Sasquatch
correct?
is correct. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, same thing. Sorry, I said Sasquatch and saw a Yeti, and so I got confused for a second. But I love the
Okay.
Yeti, the snow Yeti. So I just differentiate them by Sasquatch, not snow beings, Yeti, snow beings, and they carry very different frequency to me. But at ESETI, I saw the Sasquatch.
Okay.
So sorry.
Hey, I'm if the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot would rather be called Bigfoot, I'm okay with that.
No, I like Sasquatch. But they were doing that like I can't dance, I can't walk, or whatever. The only thing about me is the way I walk, or something. They were, I don't know. So I
Oh,
think
okay.
they have a good sense of humor
There's
in
a
general.
really cool, yes, they do. There's a really cool documentary on Netflix, I think it is, or Prime, called, it's amazing. It made me cry at the end about
Mm.
Sasquatch. It's called, oh, shoot. I gotta look it up.
Okay, you look it up, and
You'll
I'll
answer the question. Okay.
yeah. So before, well, I guess my answer is awesome. Um, I think before COVID started, uh, people would, quote unquote, like, I don't know, hire me or have me come out to their property, and I would sort of lead them and get people into like a meditative state and open them to invite in their star frequencies or star energies to basically be able to see the beings come. And I used to go in my backyard a lot. But I feel like with conscious, intentional connection, awesome. Super fun. It's just fun. It's wonderful to see people's hearts open. And my dad lives in Central Oregon, and I always, whenever I go anywhere, I always take my pointer in the sky thing, and I was like, let's go. And I always say like UFO, because I know it's called something else, but um I just, because it's like getting your energy up, and I'm like, let's go UFO watching. Let's go call in the UFO. And God, what is the chant? There's like a chant. Of course, my dad, he would say like, light them up, light them up. I'm like, no, we're not blowing anything up. It's not like light them up, but the right words. But I would just always like chant that. But they would come, and they would be really big. And then my dad finally, because I don't know if he thought I was joking, he was just like coming out to like, I'm just going to hang out with my, my daughter outside. And it's Central Oregon, which is like amazing sky, right? It's out like in the country, And so we were looking, and there was one point where he just like grabbed my hand and he like was like, put the light away. Cause I'm like, they're gonna see us even if we don't have the light shining at them. Cause like it got so real to him. He got a little nervous. And then the next night he
Oh,
was like,
wow.
yeah. And the next night he was like, okay. And I'm like, there's one right there. Cause what would happen is I would say like, what do I say? And why is it gone? But I would like say it and they would just get so big and they would just light up and go, and it would like happen right after I said it. And then he was like, and then he's like, because they're trying to like make it a coincidence. And then, you know, and I can't get attached to proving anything because I can't be like, you need to come because I need my dad to like see me that I'm really doing this. And so I have to go in with really clear intentions to be okay if a whole bunch of, you know, ships or whatever aren't flying over because it's not about me. Right. But I can always ask for them to come. And they even came with my mom in the backyard, like a whole bunch, but I had to make it not about me. And then I did it again. And then I was like show us yourself. And it, like, they just get like, they were just like getting really big for him. I also know that he's super connected to the Orion frequencies. So it's fun. And I could also feel him getting a little bit nervous. He watches a lot of
Oh,
Ancient Aliens too. So, because I think he's trying to like, you know, he's being a good dad. He's wanting to like connect to his daughter's doing something. He doesn't quite understand all the things, but you know, he's be like, let's watch Ancient Aliens. I'm like, okay, let's watch Ancient Aliens.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So the name of the documentary is "The Flash of Beauty:
Oh,
Paranormal Bigfoot," and I think yeah, you can get it on YouTube, I believe. It's not on Prime anymore, and uh, and the one before that is A Flash of Beauty: Paranormal or Bigfoot Revealed. I didn't see that one, which they made in 2022, but the one they made last year I saw, which is amazing. It's a really good
okay.
show.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Power up. That's what I say. That's the magic
Power up,
word. They'll just
power
be
up.
like, power up, power up. And then they'll just go like, right? Because somebody's going to go, that's a satellite. And then you're just like, you just do your little power up chant. And then that satellite just goes and it gets really big. And then it will like disappear. And I'm like, not
Yeah,
a satellite.
yeah.
It's fun.
So my probably biggest CE5 encounter was when I went camping up in the mountains. Um, my grandparents, my extended our family, my grandparents left some land up there in they call it the homestead, where there's just a few cabins up there where family can go. And I went with some friends, and we did C5. We saw things go across the sky, but the craziest thing was that there was three of us. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
three bright flashes that lit up everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we did not know where they came from or what happened afterwards. Three of them within maybe a couple
Oh, like
minutes
one
apart.
for each of you.
I know. That's what I
That's
thought.
so cool.
In the middle of the night, we were sleeping in the cabin. It's very rustic. We have to go to an outhouse. We have running water, but that's about it. You got to bring your own lights and everything like that. And so it was really cool and fun. I woke up in the in between state, and there was beings standing over me, looking at me, laying in the as I was sleeping on the bed, which kind of freaked me out. But I ended up I was in sleep paralysis, so I couldn't move. So I went into hypnosis, went into meditation, got some of it that we were taken on ships individually. And then I got a hypnosis session, and was able to bring through information where I was taken on a ship, and it was a checkup. It was basically a checkup. What I saw first was a human being standing on the ramp of a ship, and there was light behind him. So I just saw a silhouette, and I'm walking up to him. I'm just walking up to him in a, a recognition state, but I didn't remember any of it. and I walk up, and they put me on a table, and I know these beings, and they're looking at my body, checking it out. How you doing? That kind of thing. Let's look at this. Let's check this out. And then that's all I remember. I remembered that. I didn't know what my friends, what happened with them. I just know my experience, but they didn't remember anything either.
Well, that's awesome. I like that. You'd be like,
Yeah,
I'm ready for my annual checkup. So
that
what's in
was
your question? Capital FUN is what they are.
yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
It took me a while to be able to pull that information through. A
and
couple
to
years
integrate
later,
it. Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
But what was really funny was every time I tried, before I would pull that information through, every time I'd try to think about it, I couldn't remember if it was night or day. I'd ask, and Ashvin was one of them. I'd say, how was it during the day when we were doing that, or was it at night? Because it feels like it was done. He's like, no, it was in the night. He remembered when it was. I couldn't remember. I didn't have a lot of memory. I just remember the bright lights 3 times and those beings standing over me in the cabin. That was it.
Yeah, I think I remember that trip you all took, and I couldn't go, and I can't remember why.
Oh
I
yeah,
probably wasn't supposed to be there.
maybe.
Right? So it's just like a perfect thing. But
Yeah,
that's awesome. I think I just love because I see so often like people, and I've been part of it or just there present and get to witness it. Like I just get so much. I feel people's hearts opening, and there's these connections that are made, and I almost always cry because I'm just like so happy for people. They're just like, oh my God, oh my God. And it's like you can feel them realizing, oh my God. And it's like
yeah,
for them, like these lights will just light up, and maybe something comes down or like is in the area. And it's like you can feel the realization.
right. Yeah, yeah, it's really good. It's good stuff. Okay, so we are basically out of time. That we schedule an hour and a half for this, and I don't see any questions, so I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here.
Yeah.
Ashley, thanks for
Yep.
doing this again. Yeah, we might
Happy
have a
Dragon
special
New
guest next.
Year.
Huh?
Happy Dragon New Year on February
Happy
10th.
Dragon New Year, definitely
Mm-hmm.
under the new moon, the dark
Mm-hmm.
moon. Yeah, next month we might have a special guest with us, a
Mm-hmm.
galactic being,
Or
just
I was like
Tiffany.
orientation,
I
galactically
know, right?
oriented.
Right? Yeah, has lots of contacts. All right. Night, everyone. Thank you for being here. Bye bye.
Bye.
Keep your eye on the sky.